Calling all authors, the Your Book, Your Voice podcast with host Robert A. Lane features everything you need to know about narrating your audiobook. But it doesn't stop there. We have special guests lined up from all aspects of the book publishing industry, and we also dive deep into what it takes to be mentally prepared for success as an author and in life. So please welcome your host, Robert A. Lane.
Hello, welcome to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane. Thank you so much for tuning in. If this is your first time tuning in, just a quick intro. I am an audiobook coach and producer, and I specialize in helping nonfiction authors, maybe you're a nonfiction author, turning your nonfiction book into an audiobook that you, as the author, narrate, because I'm a firm believer that all nonfiction authors need to narrate their own audiobook, because nobody can speak your story, can tell your story better than you, the author. Hands down, not another narrator, definitely not AI. Only you can tell your story the way that you intend it to be heard. So I have an audiobook coaching program, which is called Your Book, Your Voice. And I work with, again, nonfiction authors, taking them through the process of the program, which is just a 6-week program of setting up the recording space, teaching them how to do an awesome narration, and then getting them published, on Audible, Amazon, and Apple for sure, because you have to be on those distribution platforms. And then when we do have our initial meeting, we talk about other ways to distribute your book as well, if that fits in with your marketing strategies. So if you want to find out more about what I do as an audiobook coach and producer, you can always go to robertlanecoaching.com. All the information is there. To book a call is real simple. That's the first step. My calendar link is up there. And also on the homepage, you can grab a free audiobook narration reference guide, which has some cool tools and techniques to help you do a great audiobook narration. So again, welcome to the show. We have a great show for you today. And I'm just super excited. I want to bring in our very special guest into the show right now. This is a #1 best-selling author, a fashion designer, an interior designer, but most importantly, a cancer survivor. And so I just want to welcome Mahwish Syed. Thank you so much for joining the podcast today.
Thanks so much for having me, Robert.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. You were one of the first people that had gone through the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program, which was super exciting. And I do want to talk about your book, Purgatory to Paradise, which I have a copy right here.
Aww.
Incredible book. This book you wrote about your journey, about being diagnosed with cancer, the whole process of having to deal with treatments, and eventually overcoming and defeating this incredibly could be very debilitating disease, but it wasn't. You did it, which is so amazing. This is an incredible book. The first thing that I do want to ask you about Purgatory to Paradise is there's always a core reason why you felt so compelled to write this book. Was it something that was just strictly personal, or was it a combination of sharing your story, but then telling your story to the world to help others? What was the core reason?
Well, interestingly enough, Robert, I started doing workshops at the hospital here, and I kept bringing, my own journey, my cancer journey, my design wisdom, the rituals of reverence, and the practices that I used to really help me heal. So as I was doing that, I realized I really can't gatekeep this. So it was really important for me to share my story. And I want to mention, I don't like the word defeat cancer, because for those people who, haven't defeated it, it means that they're defeated. And I don't want to, paint it that way. And frankly, in my book, this idea of cancer being Hades and having the tango with Hades, it was something that I really wanted for it to be a messenger and not something that was the villain in the story at all. Rather, our fear of cancer is the true villain. And I think it's important to recognize that I didn't defeat it at all. I danced with it.
That's a good way of looking at it. Absolutely. And What I have to say in regards to your book, the way you wrote the book, and especially the way that you narrated it, um, interior design, fashion design, being a designer, your gift shines through both in written word and in spoken word because you are a very visual person. And when you read the book, and especially when you people can hear you tell your story, you're immediately put into the story with you. The mind's eye creates the visualizations that you create with your words, your spoken word and your written word. And that is an incredible talent. So it was really uh, an incredible journey for me to work with you in regards to creating your audiobook. But for anybody who either listens to your book or reads your book, you're going to be amazed with the visualizations that appear because you are taking along the journey, and that's a real talent. And it's funny that I was thinking about this today before the podcast, and you're an interior designer, but it means so much more than that. You are an interior designer, interior, your body, your health. You are designing a way for people to help themselves to live a better, healthier life. Can you expand on this?
Yeah, of course. So I consider your home as your macrobiome and your body as your microbiome. So
Mm.
these two are always interacting with one another. So we're in a living ecosystem. Our body is a community of intelligent cells, and it's a beautiful thing. And what most people don't realize is, beauty is more than skin deep. That way that I speak about beauty in my book and in my courses and in the workshops that I teach, it's not about something that's on the surface of things. It's about divine cellular alignment, according to the words of Bruce Lipton. And what that means is when you create a space that is in harmony with you, you are then creating healing from within. And that interaction happens a lot, and we can deep dive into like all those things. But really, the reason why my book is called Purgatory to Paradise is a lot of us are living life in the waiting room. We're waiting to
Mhm.
live. We're waiting to amass whatever budget in order to do that renovation or stay in the rental and not put the hole in the wall because we're waiting to own something. So we're waiting to always, for tomorrow in order to do something. And I really, cancer knocked me out of that, purgatory right away because tomorrow may never come. And I think creating your paradise means creating that beauty from the inside out on a cellular level and in your macrobiome in your home level. And you could do it today.
That's really great. There's one thing I do want to ask you about, but before we do, I just want to mention that we are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. If you would like to give us a call, you can. The phone number to join us, to maybe you have a question to ask Mahwish about her journey, about her book. We're definitely going to be diving into some of the great things that you've been doing since you published your book. Give us a call at 1-866-451-1451. That number again is 866-451-1451, or you can comment in the chat as well. Now, I know we had talked before about epigenetics, and that's a term that maybe people aren't really familiar with, or what it exactly is. So, can you shed some light on that?
Yeah. So epigenetics is it's Greek, so it means above genetics. So it's factors that are beyond your genes, right? So we have realized now that almost 90% of cancers are epigenetic. They are the result of your lifestyle and your environment. Your
Hmm.
environment includes the clothes you wear, the people you hang out with, and the home that you live in, what you eat. All of those things are contributing factors. And Robert, that is an amazing thing because it means that we have agency. It means that we have
Hmm.
control if we can educate ourselves on how to live. I'm talking like on a very interesting level, designing that authentic life, designing something from the inside out. then you can create that paradise from within. And it is really empowering.
So, in regards to, let's take your interior design business, how are you incorporating epigenetics with interior design?
Sure. So the number one source of indoor air pollution is your flooring, your wall-to-wall carpeting,
Wow.
your area rugs, your glue-down floors, all of that. So number one thing to do is make sure that you're not using synthetic carpeting, because synthetics release VOCs, volatile organic compounds. And those are like benzene, formaldehyde, trichloroethylene. So anything that has polypropylene in it, anything that has nylon, polyester, all those synthetic fibers are really toxic. So they're off-gassing for many, many years. In addition, you're inhaling the nanoparticles, the dust particles of those microplastics in the air that you breathe in your home. And most of us live in what I call a sarcophagus. We don't air our home out. We don't have circulation. We don't open our windows. So the number one thing you can do is open your window. And I went back and got my certification in applied quantum biology, because that's what all interior designers do, right? So the reason why that is I also did a lot of research where I realized that from an epigenetic standpoint, the wrong light at the wrong time disrupts your circadian rhythm, and that again screws up screws you up on a cellular level, really. So basically, all the functions, you can exercise, you can diet, you can do all these things, but if you're not getting the right light, since we are photosynthesizing beings, we're not going to do well. So these are the types of factors of our modern life that are really increasing the surge of cancer in the modern world.
And then, of course, applying that to the fashion design aspect of it. Obviously, the clothes that you wear have a
Yeah,
huge
yeah.
impact.
Exactly. And, we don't realize that our skin is the largest organ in our body.
Yeah.
And it takes less than 30 seconds for you to absorb the chemicals from your clothing. So, those yoga pants, basically, we don't realize the way things are made, like fast fashion, you pay the price. The environment pays a price with the amount of pollution that it creates, but also you pay the price with your health. So think about what your great grandparents did. Your grandma. What were they wearing? Like, think about even designing your home. When you think of the linen closet where you store your towels and your sheets, why is that called the linen closet, guys? It's called a linen closet because our sheets were made out of linen, the actual fiber coming from flax, right? So I have a museum background. I worked at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I worked on textiles. I saw 2,000-year-old Egyptian linen. It was so incredible. And, looking at these textiles that have stood the test of time, you realize that that's been around. We have used linen for 36,000 years, right? Nylon and polyester is like the last 30 seconds of existence. Why are we using this? I don't know. It makes no sense to me. So go back to that world where wool, linen, cotton, silk, all those materials were used. And it has a long standing tradition in many different cultures. And we have to get back to that.
That is such a good point. And I'm sure there are other factors about, again, synthetic clothes. Maybe it's cheaper, it's this and that and the other. And, and obviously it's not health driven by these companies that create these products, it's money driven. And unfortunately, that creates the health issues that you're talking about. You're listening to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. We do have to take a quick break. Our very special guest is Mahwish Syed, who wrote an incredible book called Purgatory to Paradise, #1 best-selling book on Amazon, and is a fashion designer, interior designer, cancer survivor. I do want to talk about the fashion show that you were involved in. So we'll dive into that when we come back. This is, again, the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm Robert A. Lane. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
All right, welcome back to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane. I have a business called Robert Lane Coaching, which you can find out more about at robertlanecoaching.com as an audiobook coach and producer, helping nonfiction authors turn their books into audiobooks. But tonight, our guest is Mahwish Syed, who is doing such incredible things, not only with her book, Purgatory to Paradise, but getting out there in the world and sharing her story and helping people who are going through cancer treatments and even through the recovery period as well. It's also important to have such a positive mindset, because that positive energy makes all the difference in the world. In regards to your audiobook, how did that help you with getting into more speaking engagements and talking to hospitals and other facilities that help cancer patients?
Well, I have to step back for a second, Robert, because I have to say and confess, I've always wanted to do an audiobook. This was something that was like on my bucket list. And I have to say the experience with you was so profound. It was so healing for me, because as I was reading my book out loud, it was a very different experience than writing it. And when I read my words, and words are vibration, they are physically felt, literally felt, right? So as I was reading this out loud, it was so grounding, and it anchored me so much more in my message, in my mission in the world, to spread the healing power of beauty and to help those, especially going through any calamity. It doesn't have to be cancer. It could be any disease. It could be any issue. You need beauty the most. And I think a lot of people, when they're going through something like cancer, they don't feel beautiful. I mean, I didn't. I mean, I had my hair falling out, my eyebrows were gone, my face was puffy from steroids, I had radiation burns, I had scars, all of those things. And you don't feel beautiful, but I realized that that was the moment that I needed beauty the most, because I was grounding in to the beautiful soul that I am, right? Our spirit, our life force. And I just want to share that, and I teach this in my course and my workshops. where I take a picture. It's called talismanic object. So talisman is an object that's imbued with special power. And so I took out a picture of myself when I was 15, long before boys, when, I was an artist and everything was great. And I put that picture up on my dresser and I looked at her, that girl, every single day when I woke up and when I went to bed, to remind myself that she was still here. And so these types of things are very profound. They're simple, they're accessible, and these are the types of things that I teach in my workshops and in my courses, because what is around you affects your mindset. And it's really important to curate your life with, grounding into the person that you are. So with all my clients, I would really spend time being an anthropologist and figuring out and kind of going into the strata of your being and finding out, like, what did you love as a kid? Like, what colors did you let go of and stop liking because, you felt like you were adulting now and you had to let go of that hot, electric blue that you loved as a kid, right? So to bring those things back in accessible ways to reawaken the child within us again, because that's really important as a designer, as a cancer survivor, and just as a soul, on a mission to really bring that beauty out in the people I work with.
Yeah, that's such a great point, and it's similar to what I tell authors in regards to doing their audiobook is, who are you speaking to specifically? And it's not just about genre, it's not just about, it has to be very specific, because I think that that's so important. So like when you did your audiobook, it's like, who are you telling your story to? Who is that person? And again, like the talisman, get a picture, like you had that picture of you at 15 years old. Put a picture of that person that you're talking to, because that brings out your authenticity so
Oh,
much
yeah.
more.
Yeah. Oh, well, so interesting that you say that, Robert, because two things. One, I was speaking to that little girl, definitely. But also, I had my son.
Yeah.
And I read, when I was even writing the book, I was reading it to him. But it was really interesting because I wanted it to be conversational. I wanted it to be something that he could understand. And the way I speak to him about certain lessons and certain stories and parables that I tell him, it's kind of like that's how I wrote my book. And that's how it was so easy for me to speak this out. And by the way, each time, I want to mention, each time I listen to myself, I cry because it's so powerful, because I'm like, damn, that happened. That happened. So I think for anyone who's wondering, do I have it in me? No one can be you. No one can tell your story the way you can. And yeah, it really does accentuate your vulnerability. But I think our vulnerability is our biggest superpower.
I agree with you 100%. And matter of fact, when I talk with authors who are going through the program, I send them to my website and I say, listen to this clip from Mahwish Syed, Purgatory to Paradise, because honestly, in that little 30 to 45-second clip that I'd put on the website, just to give examples of people who aren't professional speakers, who are just authors who are telling their story, by the end of the clip, I feel your emotion. And that is a testament to you being able to express yourself so authentically and sharing your story, even with that small little clip. And I just say, you know what? This is what you can sound like. You can sound like Mahwish, because she does such a great job. And you feel the emotion, and that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Now, I know you had been involved in a fashion show. I'd love to hear the details about how that came about, how that ties into your journey about helping cancer patients. I'm really
Yeah.
excited to hear more about this.
It's so serendipitous. Like, I don't believe in coincidences anymore, Robert. I really don't. So the fashion show was called The Runway of Resilience in Chicago, and it was organized by a wonderful organization called Twist Out Cancer. And I absolutely was so honored to be one of the designers, and they had other designers as well. It was a group show, and all the models had been touched by cancer. So either personally themselves or a loved one, or they were an artist that had drawn someone and worked with another cancer patient. And I think it was so healing for me because it was literally everything that I wrote about in my book as a philosophy of how much beauty is healing, to help dress and create clothes to fit. And by the way, it was a crazy feat because everybody was flying in from all over the country. We were having virtual fittings for months. I mean, I was like holding things up, and you could see it on my Instagram. I have little reels and clips of like behind the scenes of these fittings that I was doing like on Zoom. And it was like crazy stressful because I arrived on Saturday, did some fittings, but a lot of these outfits they were wearing for the first time the day they were going to be walking the runway.
Wow.
And everything, we had like one switch, but I can't believe everything worked out. I was like super stressed, but it was so profound and so wonderful to commune and design things that really brought out the personality of each model. And the fact that everyone was, different sizes, and there were men and children. And so it was really a designer's challenge to be able to pull this off. And at the end of the day, it just gave me so much hope because just watching their faces light up and feel beautiful. I'm still riding high from it nearly a month later. And it was such a profound experience. So it was the culmination of what I always do. And by the way, like, I have been designing for the goddess in every single one of us for a while. And I write about that and I speak about that in my book, that you are the divine in physical form. And it is my honor and my privilege to celebrate your divinity.
And it was, again, another example of bringing beauty and showing that you are beautiful no matter what kind of trauma, cancer, or otherwise that you may be going through, you are still beautiful. And I love the fact that when you talked about earlier about tapping into that inner child and not losing sight of that. That's a wonderful thing, and that is a really great gift to give to people. Do you have any plans on doing more shows like this?
Oh my gosh, I just finished a workshop here at Mount Sinai only this past week on Tuesday, and that was I think one of the first in-person workshops since the pandemic, where I helped really use these tips and tricks that I talk about in my book to be able to share that with people who are going through treatment and actively going through treatment. So that was a wonderful thing. And I do workshops with the Red Door community. I've done workshops with Woman to Woman. It's many different organizations. I did an in-person beauty meditation at the JCC here in New York in this past June. And so it's blooming into something really profound, Robert. And there's more coming down the pipeline.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast, by the way. Our very special guest is Mahwish Syed. And again, I'm going to just promote your book because I think it's fantastic. Purgatory to Paradise is the book where Mahwish shares her journey from being diagnosed with cancer to going through the process of healing herself and now taking this journey and helping other people heal. So pick up the book. It's on Amazon. You can get the paperback. And definitely listen to the audiobook because, again, I'm really, I can't say enough how much emotion that you brought into your narration, into your delivery that really hits home. And anybody who hears you speak, it's just they're going to be crying when they hear you speak because it's just a wonderful journey that you present. So by all means, pick that up, my friends. Pick that up. We're going to take another quick break, though. When we do come back, I do want to dive into. I know you've been talking about workshops and courses, so let's talk more about that. What they're about, what you do, how you help not only cancer patients but maybe the doctors as well. How that all ties in. Love to hear more about that. You're listening to, again, the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. We are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. Don't go away, my friends. More to come.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
And welcome back to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. As an audiobook coach and producer, you can check out more information about what I do at robertlanecoaching.com. Our very special guest today is Mahwish Syed, who is a #1 best-selling author and who's doing some incredible work helping cancer patients. Before the break, we mentioned about a couple of things. One is workshops, and the other thing is courses. First thing I'd wanted to talk to you about, did we lose her? Okay. We'll get Mahwish back on in a second. Her signal dropped for a bit. No problem. We'll get her back on shortly. In the meantime, I do appreciate you tuning in. If you are, by the way, a nonfiction author, embrace that. Because if you're a published nonfiction author, you are a professional, and which means you are an entrepreneur. So embrace your entrepreneurship and love what you do, whether you write professionally for a living. And if you do, that's awesome. That is really great. But maybe you wrote your book during nights and weekends, and you finally got it published out there. You are still a professional. So always consider yourself a professional author and an entrepreneur. Now, of course, as an entrepreneur, you are the CEO of you. So you're the boss. You are an author brand. And like Mahwish was talking about, everything that encompasses who you are is your author brand. And that's what makes you so unique. And when you take your book and bring your voice, which is already in your written word, back into your audiobook. That's why you narrate your audiobook. You're just bringing it to life. So that's why you need to narrate your own audiobook. And again, if you want to find out more about the audiobook coaching program that I teach, by all means, go to robertlanecoaching.com. First step, which is super easy. This is a great way to move your business forward, and that's book a call with me, and let's talk about your book and get you enrolled so you can be published on Audible, Amazon, and Apple, and any other distribution platform by the end of the 6-week program. So we have Mahwish back on, so let's get her back here on the show and continue on talking about the wonderful things that she does for cancer patients. Again, Mahwish, 2 things: your workshops that you do at hospitals and cancer treatment centers, and I know anywhere that you can talk about, which is great. And then you also have a course. So let's talk about your course. How did that come about, and how is it tailored? Is it tailored for patients, or is it tailored for doctors, or both? How does that all work?
Thanks for asking, Robert. The course is called Claim Your Paradise, which is really an offshoot of Purgatory to Paradise. And it was the basic message of being able to get out of your own way and to create that paradise for yourself today. So the course itself is geared to both doctors and patients. So those who are undergoing, and it could be cancer, it could be any illness really, but it gives a real strong backbone to being able to create that healing modality in terms of self-care as well as your home. And I also have modules in there from a quantum perspective. So being able to create a home that is circadian aligned is a really important thing. And that's something that's really new and really powerful. So from a doctor's perspective, what you can do to create that in your office space for your patients in your treatment area, it could be for therapists, it could be for naturopathic or a massage therapy, anybody who is bringing people in to take care of them from a designer's point of view, also from a quantum biology point of view, what kind of protocols. And the reason really why I started doing this is I deal with multi-million-dollar jobs, which take forever. And that's fine. That's its own animal. But after cancer, I realized, well, what about now? Like, what if I don't have two years to do this? If it's a multi-million-dollar renovation or a hospital that takes 10 years to make, what are the protocols that hospitals who are on a budget, what can they implement today that can create that healing oasis using these principles that are really easy decorative fixes, by the way. That's what's the wonderful thing about this. It's accessible and it doesn't cost you a lot of money. And I even have an Amazon shop because everyone kept asking me, like, where can I get this? And I'm like, okay, have I got something for you? And even for patients who say, I want to regrow my hair. What did you use, Mahwish? Because I had so many people asking me because I didn't look like this. I built this from, I renovated myself from the inside out. I was my own kind of interior designer here. So I think it's important to recognize there's all these aspects, very detailed aspects and downloads that you can take, shopping lists that you can take, checklists that you can take to be able to create your own healing oasis from the inside out.
I love that. And you just reminded me of something that you talk about in your book, and that is when you were getting certain treatments, you were put in this room that was very sterile. It was almost industrial, and it's like, wow, how can you change that environment so that when patients are in there getting treatment, that it doesn't feel like it's so sterile?
Yeah,
go ahead.
I well, you're a movie guy, so it's so funny because there were fluorescent lights on. It was in the basement, and they used that green tinge in horror movies, which you're very familiar with. So I'm like, oh my God, I have to turn these lights off. They're awful. I feel awful. And, I couldn't bring in candles, but I was able to just kind of redecorate whenever I was getting an infusion because I was in there for like 12 hours at a time. So I was there for 12 hours at a time. So what was I going to do? I was stuck. I'm looking around thinking like a designer would, like, wait, you should fix this. How about this? Why is this here? So then I started like really thinking about that. And I think it really sprouted. Like I call my pomegranate seeds of wisdom because I use the story of Persephone, the goddess of the seasons, as a part of framing my book and my story. So the pomegranate seeds were there, and those seeds were planted. I think that was chapter 2, a seed buried alive. So that idea of being able to take your calamity and turning it into a catharsis, being able to pivot and taking something, a challenge like a health challenge, and turning it around to help other people. I'm not the only one, guys, who's doing this. I'm just one of many beautiful souls I've met along the way who have become lit up by that challenge. And, there's that saying that, a diamond is created from extreme pressure. And I think, we're all diamonds in the rough, and sometimes it takes that extreme pressure to bring out our shine.
And as part of your course, especially with doctors and hospitals, to address that specific issue about changing the environment for people that are getting treatments, especially for that long of a period of time?
Look, there are studies and studies and studies. So the science of neuroaesthetics, which is the effect of beauty on your nervous system and your physiology, right? So that is a real science, and they're discovering that biophilic design, things that, there's plants. Here's a plant right here. So plants and anything to do with nature inside the space, especially when you're recovering, actually increases recovery rates. So there is a lot of science behind this. There's a lot of research. It's not just about, make things look pretty. Everything is grounded into studies that have been done and using healthy materials. I'm a materials consultant for firms anyway, but to look and assess and audit the space and, the history of color and how we use color and how that affects your biology, your physiology, your mental state, all of those things, your brain waves. It is very much a powerful tool that doesn't cost a lot of money. So I deep dive into all of that and teach about it. And I think everyone should go through that lens and create a space that affects their well-being on such a profound level.
And if someone, whether it's somebody who's dealing with trauma, whether it's cancer or maybe something else, if they're interested in finding out more about your courses, especially, and I hope there's some hospitals and doctors tuning in as well, how would they be able to get involved in that and get in touch with you about your courses?
Yeah, go to claimyourparadise.com. You can book a free session with me. If you have a project to talk about, I am available. And there are also wonderful audit lists and design masterclasses too. So there's different, it's like an a la carte menu. You're able to pick whatever. But if you do want to work with me, and if it is something that you are interested in, I also take on interior design projects and consultancy.
Oh, great. Awesome. So yeah, definitely take advantage of that. No matter what trauma you're going through, because it's all to better yourself, both from the inside and out. So it's a great thing. And I know that you've been doing workshops. Does that differ in regards to this is what you do in your course and this is what you do in your workshops? Is there a difference, or is it just is it per event?
It's actually, it really depends on who the target is. Like, for example, it is a deep dive about those subjects. But say, for example, someone really wanted to go into plants and figuring out ways to create nature inside the home. That could be its own, and that is its own workshop that's coming out next month.
Okay, so which is good. So that means that in your workshops you can actually tailor specific topics for whatever the event is, and still be able to share a bunch of knowledge about that. So
absolutely.
So that is great. That is really great. It's great that you have that versatility. which is incredibly helpful for sure. You are listening to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. One more quick break. We're going to come back and speak more with Mahwish Syed, our very special guest. We are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. Again, we appreciate you hanging out with us, and we're going to be back with our final segment, so don't go away.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane. I'm an audiobook coach and producer. You can go to robertlanecoaching.com to find out more how I help nonfiction authors turn their books into audiobooks that, of course, you as the author narrate. Our special guest today, of course, is Mahwish Syed, and she's been doing such incredible work helping people who are going through the cancer journey. But you know what's great about what you do, Mahwish, is that it's not just only focused on the patients, but on hospitals and doctors and just everything that encompasses the entire journey and all the people involved. And that's really great that it's not just like narrowcasted to one thing, that it encompasses everything, and I think that's so important.
You know, whether you're a healer or being healed, I think that bifurcation is a false bifurcation, because at times that, one can become sick, and that gray zone between illness and wellness is growing. It's growing bigger instead of going smaller. And that's why I felt like I didn't want to discriminate against the people who are also in the trenches doing their job to heal, what's out there, and they deserve to have a beautiful space because they're there 24/7. I get to go in and out of the hospital and I leave that behind. Whereas those people, they're there, and I feel like they deserve to have a beautiful space that also affects their biology.
And that's really a great thing. And again, you're helping people live a healthier, better life with what you do. I'm glad we talked about epigenetics and all the other aspects that you apply to your fashion design, your interior design. All of it is so important because we really do need to live healthier lives. And what you're doing is you're educating and you're helping people understand that things that we just take for granted can be and are actually hurting us health-wise. So that's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Your home can either heal or kill you. And most people don't realize that it is that effective. We are porous beings. We're not living in a vacuum, that we are affected by the air we breathe, the clothes we wear, the people we're with, the food we're eating. All of those things contribute. And it's like a rain barrel effect. It's not one thing, but it's sometimes the kind of the perfect storm of all these things coming together. And then suddenly illness happens. So if I can help you enhance your health through your home, through your environment, then that's a win-win.
Do you ever speak about the food aspect in what you do as well?
Yeah, I have what worked for me. And I talk about toxins. I talk about things. I already am a gardener. I've been really doing a deep dive and auditing what I imbibe, right, in every capacity. And I have protocols in there for people who are looking to, really enhance their nutrition. I think it's really important to look at what you're putting in your body. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Totally makes sense. And how can people get in touch with you again? Whether it's, you do workshops, so getting in touch with you to do a workshop, maybe getting in touch with you about doing your courses. Can you share that with us again?
Sure. It's claimyourparadise.com.
Beautiful. And of course, we can find you on social media as well. Where can we find you on Instagram, for example?
Instagram is Mahwish Syed Designs. It's MAHWISH_SYED_designs.
Perfect. And do you all do anything with other social media like, LinkedIn or Facebook or TikTok or anything like that?
All of the above, Robert. All of the
Awesome.
above. Yes,
Good for you.
yes. Mahwish Syed Designs is basically the handle everywhere. And
Perfect.
also, yeah, I don't want to give too many things away because people are like, where do I go? But Claim Your
Right.
Paradise is really the one-stop shopping for the education.
Claimyourparadise.com.
Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, first of all, thank you so much. And again, I'm just going to plug your book because I love it. It's fantastic. Purgatory to Paradise is the name of the book. And definitely get a copy of the audiobook because Mahwish's narration is fantastic. And again, you don't have to be a professional speaker, a radio DJ, or anything like that because your authentic self will come out when you do your narration, just like it did for Mahwish, which that's what makes her book so incredible. So pick up a copy of that book. It's on Amazon. Of course, it's on Audible and on Amazon and Apple Books. And I also suggest when you get the audiobook, buy that paperback too, because there's going to be things in there that you want to highlight and you want to hang on to. So do it.
Thank you. Yeah, I love it when my readers send me things that they've highlighted. It's really amazing. And it's actually, it's required reading. The director of social work, she's a professor, and she made it required reading for her interns. So that was pretty amazing to hear.
Oh, love it. That is so great. Mahwish, thank you so much for joining us on the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. And of course, wishing you tons of success. You're doing a wonderful thing, helping people and making the world a much better, healthier place to live in. So thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me, Robert. Such a pleasure.
Thank you. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. Thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. We're here every Thursday at the same time here, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time when we do the live stream. And of course, you can catch the replays and archives on my YouTube channel at Robert Lane Coaching and any of the other platforms that your favorite podcast platform, you'll be able to catch the show there. Again, if you want more information about narrating your own audiobook as a nonfiction author, go to robertlanecoaching.com. Book a call with me. I'd love to speak with you and help you turn your book into an audiobook that you narrate because no one can tell your story better than you. Thank you again. I'm Robert A. Lane. We're streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. Appreciate you hanging out. We'll talk to you next week. Take care, my friends.
This has been Your Book, Your Voice with host Robert A. Lane. Tune in each week for another powerful and informative episode of Your Book, Your Voice, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.